Writing. I opened my eyes to the sound of steady beeping. Everything around me was white, quiet, and unfamiliar. My head felt heavy, my body refused to move, and for a terrifying moment, I couldn't remember who I was. Then I saw someone sitting beside my hospital bed. She stood up the second our eyes met, tears filling her eyes as she smiled and whispered, "I was so worried about you." It wasn't my girlfriend. It was her younger sister. At that moment, I had no idea that the next few days would completely change the way I looked at kindness, family, and the people who quietly stand beside us when life falls apart. Sometimes the greatest heroes don't wear uniforms or make headlines. Sometimes, they're simply the ones who refuse to leave your side. Before we continue, welcome to Kindness Waves. If stories that restore your faith in humanity touch your heart, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and leave a comment telling us about a time when someone showed you unexpected kindness. Your stories inspire others more than you know. My name is Ethan, and just a week before waking up in that hospital room, life felt perfectly normal. I was 28 years old, working long hours as a graphic designer in Chicago. My girlfriend, Emma, and I had been together for almost 3 years. We talked about getting married someday, buying a small house, and starting a family. Emma had a younger sister named Lily. She was cheerful, thoughtful, and always seemed to notice when someone needed help before anyone else did. Whenever our families gathered for birthdays or holidays, Lily was the first one helping in the kitchen, carrying groceries, or making sure everyone had a seat at the table. One rainy Friday evening, I stayed late at work to finish an important project. Emma had flown to California that morning for a business conference and wouldn't be back for several days. Before leaving, she reminded me to drive carefully because the weather forecast looked terrible. I laughed and promised her I would. I wish I had listened more carefully. The roads were soaked and visibility was poor. As I drove home, another car suddenly lost control in front of me. I slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Everything happened in seconds. Tires screeched, metal crashed, glass shattered, then nothing. When I finally woke up, my memories came back slowly. The accident, the rain, Emma. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry. "Lily," I whispered. She gently squeezed my hand. "You scared all of us," she said, wiping away tears. "The doctors said you should make a full recovery." I looked around the room. "Where's Emma?" Lily smiled softly. "She's on her way home. Her flight lands tonight. She wanted to come immediately, but there weren't any flights available until this morning." I nodded, feeling relieved. Then I noticed something strange. There were fresh flowers on the windowsill, a phone charger plugged into the wall, a clean blanket folded neatly across the chair. Someone had been taking care of everything. "You did all this?" I asked. She shrugged with a small smile. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal. Over the next 2 days, I realized just how much Lily had done. She had contacted my parents before anyone else could. She made sure my dog was fed every day. She brought comfortable clothes from my apartment. She answered dozens of worried phone calls so I could rest. She even stayed overnight in an uncomfortable chair because she didn't want me to wake up alone. Every time I thanked her, she gave the same answer. That's what people do when they care. Those simple words stayed with me. When Emma finally arrived, she ran into the room, crying, and hugged me as carefully as she could. "I thought I lost you," she whispered. I held her hand and smiled. "You didn't." She turned to Lily. "And thank you for taking care of him." Lily laughed. "I didn't do anything special." Emma shook her head. "You did everything." Watching the two sisters reminded me that kindness often happens quietly. It doesn't ask for applause. It simply shows up. A few days later, one of the nurses stopped by my room. "You've got a good family," she said. I smiled. "I really do." She looked at the chair beside my bed. "Your girlfriend's sister barely left this room. Every nurse on this floor noticed. We see a lot of patients whose visitors stop coming after the first day." She stayed. I looked toward the empty chair. Until that moment, I hadn't fully understood what her presence meant. Recovery wasn't easy. Physical therapy was painful. Simple tasks became difficult. Some days I felt frustrated and discouraged. But every single week, Lily stopped by with homemade soup or coffee from my favorite shop. She never acted like she was doing something extraordinary. She simply asked, "How are you feeling today?" Sometimes that question mattered more than the soup. Months passed, and I slowly regained my strength. One Saturday afternoon, Emma and I invited Lily over for dinner. After we finished eating, I handed Lily a small envelope. She looked confused. "What's this?" Inside was a handwritten letter. As she read it, tears filled her eyes. The letter didn't contain money or gifts. It simply thanked her for every unnoticed act of kindness. For every hour she spent sitting beside a hospital bed. For every phone call. For every meal. For reminding me that compassion is often found in the smallest moments. When she finished reading, she hugged me tightly. "You really didn't have to write this." "I did," I answered. "Why?" "Because people often hear about their mistakes. They rarely hear how much their kindness changed someone's life." She smiled through tears. "I'll keep this forever." A year later, Emma and I got married. During the reception, I stood to give a toast. Everyone expected me to thank our parents and friends. I did, but then I looked directly at Lily. "I almost lost my life last year," I said. When I woke up scared and confused, the first face I saw was someone who reminded me that I wasn't alone. Kindness isn't measured by grand gestures. It's measured by showing up when someone needs you most. "Lily, thank you for showing up." The room became silent. Then everyone stood and applauded. Lily covered her face, embarrassed, but smiling. That moment wasn't about recognition. It was about gratitude. Today, whenever life becomes busy, I remember that hospital room. I remember the flowers, the blanket, the late-night conversations, the reassuring smile through tears. Those small acts didn't erase my pain, but they gave me the strength to face it. Kindness doesn't always change the situation, but it can change how someone survives it. If there's someone in your life going through a difficult season, don't underestimate the power of a visit, a phone call, a meal, or simply sitting beside them in silence. The smallest act of compassion may become the memory they carry for the rest of their life. Thank you for spending this time with us on Kindness Waves. If this story touched your heart, remember to subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who believes kindness still matters. Together, we can remind the world that hope grows one caring heart at a time, and every act of kindness creates another wave that reaches farther than we could ever imagine.